Totally different. Tony and Meg from All Souls. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
See, that's nice. It's a nice hello. Tony, you just mentioned you were having dinner. What's for dinner?
It was a bologna sandwich and some corn chips.
Nice. I just finished a pizza place Caesar salad moments ago. So I feel like I got that, like, okay, dinner power, right? Yeah.
I like to eat like I'm on the road all the time.
Right. It's nice, actually. That's probably a bit of continuity in the pandemic. It's just, that's why I can't tour, but I can still eat bologna sandwiches. So I have a lot, kind of a surprising amount, even to me, that I want to ask you guys. Because, I mean, at this point, All Souls, you got 2 killer records, and you know, and I hear there's more coming, which is great.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that too, and I want to talk about sort of getting through the last year, of course, and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff, but with the acknowledgement that I tend to test people's attention spans with interviews, people watching. Tell me about, first of all, doing the virtual volumes, recording for that, and playing those songs without an audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really strange. And we're in masks. We wore masks for that because it was filmed in I believe March 13th, which, you know, we were still, I mean, it wasn't technically lockdown, but it wasn't safe for us to be inside with other people because some people were vaccinated and some weren't. I might have been the only vaccinated person at that point because I work in healthcare. I'm a massage therapist.
Okay.
And I was able to get vaccinated in February. So I was one of the first ones to get vaccinated. But yeah, you know, we wanted to do it safely, and we organized this event to be indoors because we wanted it to sound really good. We wanted to have it to be the best quality that it could be. We were inspired actually by what the Melvins were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been putting out videos like once a month, and they are all being recorded inside Toshi's studio, which is their rehearsal studio also. And they look and sound amazing because they're in a professional recording, you know, studio.
Right. So
we wanted to do the same thing, and in order to do it safely, we had to wear masks and to not have an audience. So it's different, and it feels. I mean, it's different for us as performers because we're not playing to anyone per se, except for, you know, the sound engineer and the people that are doing cameras. But you know, also it's a different. It almost feels like we're recording music because technically we are putting this out as a DVD and a vinyl release as well. So it's going to be released as that. So it was kind of like a recording session. So that's pretty much what it feels like. Was a recording session.
There is an insular sort of quality that happens when you play live shows anyways. Like oftentimes you play live and there's the energy of an audience, but at the same time, there's a very insular sort of thing going on where, you know, you rehearse the music continuously and then you just play it in front of people. And oftentimes, like when you're playing in front of people, there's like a sort of internal thing that, you know, it feels oftentimes like it's just does in the rehearsal studio. Because it's the songs, it's representation of the songs. You're just playing what you've played a million times in the studio anyways. So it did feel, to me, it felt kind of like, you know, we're just trying to represent the songs as best we can. And granted, so that like it's recording, like the red lights on and stuff, and
sure,
it's being recorded, but there is that thing going on as well.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because it was being recorded and we knew that it was going to be put out as an actual release, there's an added pressure as to not wanting to make mistakes, where when you play live, it's okay to make mistakes because, for one, people probably are not going to hear the mistakes.
Right.
But so there was definitely more attention to trying for not perfection, but to play as best and as cleanly as possible. So sometimes that would affect like how much you move around, because when you're in front of an audience, you're feeding off of their energy.
Right.
And you're moving around and you're having like a fun. And not that I didn't have fun, but it felt like more pressure in a way, you know, because I wanted to play as cleanly as possible.
So
but that's the difference.
It's interesting, you know. I've talked to a number of artists about sort of the live stream experience at this point, and there's a lot of well, you miss feeding off the crowd energy, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, sure, you know, I miss feeding off the band's energy. Shit, that's legit. Thinking of, especially, you know, I don't think of All Souls music as being insular in that way that Tony's talking about, and that's kind of an interesting perspective that I haven't actually heard about it, is sort of it being more about representing the songs, which I think ties into what you were saying too, Meg, is wanting to represent those songs as best as possible in that setting, especially I would think in a time when you can't get out and do it otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's.
I tend to be more of an introvert, anyways, and I'm not really like. I mean, whereas like occasionally like I'll feed off a little bit of an audience, but I don't usually feed off an audience, anyways. Like to me, it's just all about feeding off of the energy of the music itself, and that's what I meant by insular. It's a very internal sort of thing, anyways. So I mean, most of the times I like close my eyes when we're playing live. And just feed off that energy that we're creating on stage, and I think that's like a better place to come from, anyways, like for me. So, but yeah, I mean, it was drastically different in that, you know, there's obviously like an infectious disease that's taken out 500,000 people in our country, and for that very reason, like it's obviously like an anxiety-ridden sort of affair, you know.
And at the same time, you're coming out of Songs for the End of the World, which, you know, okay, right, came out last fall, but was written obviously related to entirely different apocalyptic circumstances.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that sort of that frame and how, not how the last year has in some way maybe affected your thinking about it, but just any sort of change of perspective, or has the last year made you think about the end of the world itself differently?
Well, I mean, so the record, just for the record, the name Songs for the End of the World and the entire concept of the record and the writing of the record came probably a year before we even wrote the record. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of a meditation on obviously the things that were at the forefront of a lot of what a lot of us were thinking of. What most of, I mean, obviously all, I had read a bunch of Cormac McCarthy, and I think it was Meg, you're the one that came up with the idea of Songs for the End of the World. Mm-hmm. Meg came up with the title. So I don't think that the virus necessarily steps away from the concept of it. I think that it was all inclusive. Obviously, nobody's seen this coming, you know, but there are definitely a lot of things that are still growing and still, you know, we're still on the precipice of absolute horrific, like futuristic things that are very real. that we did write about, and then there are lyrical things that are in the record that are very prescient to, and weirdly
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. But I think that when a lot of what I read from Cormac McCarthy which I really loved is the idea of there's a wind, there's like a growing wind, and this thing that's coming upon you that you can't necessarily put your finger on, but that you can feel. It's like something that you see in your internal mind, your mind's eye, sort of. And I mean that's what the record was written of. I mean that it has any like that it kind of correlates with the virus, and what happened with the COVID thing is equally as disturbing, I think. That's really cool. Yeah.
We knew that there was this sense of doom just living under Trump for the last 4 years. And we didn't know how bad it was going to get. I mean, I think that we were thinking maybe a nuclear war, or he was going to get us into some like other type of catastrophe. But what unfolded was as equally as devastating, because he wasn't prepared to protect any of us. And it was completely botched from the beginning, and how it was, he reacted to it, in that it wasn't a big deal and it wasn't real and all of these things. So, I think that we could have been in a much better position having had an actual leader in place. But, things got pretty grim, and I think that some people pretend like it's not as bad as it is, but it's pretty bad. I think we lost a lot of people. I mean, people are still dying all over the world. It's still a big deal. I mean, we're feeling like things are opening back up, and we're positive that, music is coming back. But, we own a music rehearsal studio that was shut down for months. Our band was basically grounded for, most of the last year. I, as a massage therapist, was out of work for a while. It just wasn't safe to live life and how we're used to. So, I mean, things were pretty upended. I think we're all in kind of a PTSD, and we forget how bad it was a year ago. But, it was pretty, everything was upended, and we're still in the fallout of it all, and in having to do these live stream shows and concerts is a direct result of not being able to perform live in front of an audience. Right. We're still there now. Like, we're still not able to have a live show indoors yet. And to be able to tour, we don't know when that's going to be either, because for many reasons. I mean, the infrastructure might not be there for a while. A lot of places have closed. And for a band like us, where, we've been lucky to open up for bigger bands, certainly, playing in a huge place is not happening anytime soon either. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You mentioned the rehearsal space, East Side, right?
Yeah.
East Side. Tell me about it. Tell me about what you've been able to do, what you haven't been able to do, sort of in running that. Because I mean, of course, touring has been completely off, like you said, but
well, yeah. So touring's been not happening, which means that bands probably feel like they don't need to rehearse, because what are you rehearsing for unless you're writing an album? Like a lot of bands just basically took a year off.
Yeah.
Where they just didn't play at all. And plus, to be in a room, an enclosed space with no windows, for a long time, if you didn't know who was positive and who wasn't, it wasn't safe to do that.
Right.
So no businesses could be open for many months in Los Angeles. So we were closed for like 4 or 5 months. I
Yeah,
don't
something like
remember.
that. But
Yeah.
but the good thing is that you know, we own a rehearsal studio. So when COVID hit and we were forced to close, we had a place to write. So we immediately got to work on starting to write a record. You know,
Yeah, so it's great for us personally because we had our rehearsal studio to
Right.
play for All Souls, and like we were the only ones there. You know, there was 5 rooms, and you know, at that time, our old guitar player Eric. Sorry, my dogs are being assholes.
Oh, hello, hello.
Um,
Oh my goodness.
that's Matilda.
Hello, Matilda. Yes, hello. Oh, who's that? Who's
So
Matilda?
during that time, Eric was
Pugs.
kind of bowing out of the band.
Mhm.
And so it was just me and the 2 Tonys, so Tony Aguilar and Tony Tournay. And, you know, we didn't want to stop. So we were getting tested and, you know, we were feeling confident that we were safe, you know, just to be the 3 of us in the studio.
Yeah.
So us 3 were writing for basically all of 2020. And we were there, you know, like a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a week, or more or less, however, you know, and that was really the one thing that we could focus on. And it was great to be able to have that, you know, to have that creative outlet. So yeah, we basically were able to write our next album, and we had Matt Price come in like 4 or 5 months ago or something like that. And he learned the songs that we'd already had, and now he's helping to write the songs that we're finishing up writing. But yeah, as far as the rehearsal studio, it was interesting. I mean, the bands are coming back now, and we were able to start a flea market in the parking lot while the place was closed. And so we're doing an East Side Flea. It's outdoors. We're having vendors from the neighborhood, craft vendors, food and drinks and jewelry and pastries, and you know, different kind of people come, and giving them a chance to make money and being part of the community here, which is great. It's like giving us a chance to get to know other people that are hustling, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like everybody had to figure out a new side hustle
Yeah.
during this whole thing, you know, and some people sort of like were able to start whole new businesses because of it. So in that way, it was really good, you know, for the people that were able to pivot in such a way to just make something else happen for themselves. And we're able to, you know, add a few things on the side to be able to make it through. So, you know, resilience is the key, I think, in this.
Apparently, yes. And I know that because I've spent the last year and a half huddled in a ball, actually, just yeah. So yeah. In terms of, well, you mentioned you had the whole rehearsal studio to yourself. In terms of bringing in Matt, were these the jam in the van and the virtual volumes? These were the first performances with Matt, right?
Yeah.
So kind of
yeah. The jam in the van was his debut.
Okay. When was that? When was that recorded?
Basically, was it like a week or 2 before it aired? So
Okay.
it just came out. What?
Jam in the Van came out on the 18th of May.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and we recorded it like I think 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, the virtual volumes. And Matt, he's playing old songs on both performances except for one new song on virtual volumes.
Yeah.
So but that's one of, we already have like almost the entire record written for the next recording. So we're just getting all that stuff like really squared away. But the songs are finished. The songs are done.
Well, tell me about the songs.
For the new record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no real lyrical topic yet. It's because we always write in a way where the lyrics come last. So there is a tentative idea for the album name, but we're not sure yet. So, but the songs are the same. I mean, they're not the same, but they're different. They're dark. They're all soul songs, and they're long, epic, 4 to 5 minute songs each one. I think there might be one 3-minute song on the next record, maybe. but I mean, it's the same thing where like, you know, it starts in one place and it takes you on a journey and it ends in a different place. I think that's just sort of become our writing style. We just kind of like to, I'm not really I mean, I kind of like, sometimes I like, you know, a short little statement like dee, 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 and then it gets to it and it's finished and it's out. But I mean, I think everybody who's into metal music or into heavy music likes musical journeys, you know, Sabbath, Zeppelin, like that heavy shit that would just like go on and on and on. And you know, it'd take you, you know, from point A all the way to Z by the time you're finished, you know. So
yeah, we're noticing a theme where, you know, our songs are a lot longer than, you know, we set them out to be. And there's like multiple parts. Like I think that, you know, if there's a problem with our writing style is that we're overwriting, and then we have to just like start chopping things or editing things to where it makes it to be, I don't know, like not everybody wants to sit through like a 7-minute song.
but I like, I mean, I like the
I do.
echo stuff,
I do too, but you can only
Shit.
put so many songs on an
Yeah.
album side. That's
Give
the thing.
me give me wins any day of the week.
I love it. I know, me too.
Yeah, us too. Like,
Yeah.
like seriously, and like for me, it's like why not explore a melody until the melody is completely, you know, explored. Yeah. Like, why not be Beethoven? Why not go crazy and just do something that is bigger?
Yeah, I would think too, sort of being in the environment of your own rehearsal studio where there's like no one else there, and it's you guys and Tony, and I would think that has to kind of allow or facilitate a certain amount of digging in.
It does.
Right?
Yep.
Like
no, we try things like every which way and pick things apart and put them back together again. I mean, fun.
Ad nauseum.
Yeah. But then after a point you're left like, okay, we got to make some decisions here.
Right.
You know, because I mean, at this point we have songs that we wrote that are over a year old that we have to like relearn to record for this next record, you know. So
well, and it's also because we're doing this, we're going to be possibly doing this record differently, and that before we would record 3 songs at a time, and then this one we're probably going to record all at once. So it's going to be a very different sort of experience for us recording.
What's Toshi going to do?
We're not sure yet. We're not sure what's going on with the next record. We're still talking about that. So that's a conversation we're still all having. But yeah, I mean, we've loved recording with Toshi in the past. Absolutely, he's amazing. You know, he's our friend and he's our brother, and he's just an amazing artist. So, but yeah, we're gonna figure that out like really soon.
How has it been having, after sort of being in that space with the 3 of you and sort of saying goodbye to Eric, how has it been bringing someone new into the process and having to kind of teach those songs and sort of open up again?
I think that the thing with All Souls was always that me and Eric are very different types of guitar players. Like Eric is a very, I was watching a video the other day and it kind of put the point like perfectly. And that there are 2 types of guitar players. There are players that play in the pocket, and there are players that don't play in the pocket. And players that don't play in the pocket are metal guitar players. You know, it's sort of like Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads, where they're all over the fretboard and they're very they're very free.
Mm-hmm.
You know? In the pocket people would be more like Jimi Hendrix. You know, people who are, and that's my style. So I've always played. I think that if anything, also style has always been that there's one guitar player in the pocket and the other one that's outside of the pocket. And Eric was a very metal style guitar player, and Matt is just as equally a metal guitar player. And Matt is all over the place. Eric was a very like studied player. He understood theory. He could read. Matt is the same way. he understands theory very well. In fact, he's a guitar teacher. He's like a pretty renowned guitar teacher around Los Angeles. So it wasn't hard bringing Matt in. Honestly, when Eric quit, I didn't think we were going to find a guitar player of Eric's caliber, because Eric is.
Tell him how you found Matt.
The funniest way. This is hilarious. I literally it was late at night, and we've been writing music.
I didn't think we were going to be
forever.
able to get as good as a guitar player as Eric, because it's like, you just don't fill shoes like that, you know.
Right.
Like, we have total respect for Eric and loved his writing, loved his contributions, love him as a friend. And we were, you know, heartbroken and disappointed when he decided to move on. And, you know, like we went on Craigslist and, you know, talked to a couple people and sent them some music and then never heard back. And I'm like, oh my God, we're never going to find anybody. Like, this is crazy. Like, how are we going to go on? Like, maybe we'll go on as a 3-piece. Like, it's possible, but it wouldn't sound the same. But so
when I was just, I was up late, because I worked late, you know, at the studio, and I was home. It's like 1 a.m, and I just hashtagged guitarist on Instagram, and two players came up.
That's
and
how we found
So
Matt.
I watched them. I watched both players, and I was like, wow, this guy's really good. And so I messaged him through Instagram, and Matt replied. He's like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys.
Well,
I
we'd
really like your
actually,
music.
so he's in this band called Behold the Monolith.
Mm-hmm.
That Tony Moshi, our old band, we played with them before. So
Okay.
and we have friends in common, and you know, it's like we're kind of in the same circle of LA rock musicians. We weren't friends with the guy, but we knew him and he knew us.
Sure.
But we didn't think to reach out, or we didn't know he was available. And yeah, he popped up on an Instagram hashtag.
And
search.
he's every bit as
Super talented
a guitarist
and nice
in
guy.
prowess as Eric was.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've matched that level of guitar expertise, and the same type of guitar player too, so where he could really, lead guitar player stuff, like he just can go off all day and all night.
Mm-hmm. And adds all the texture and the color.
You'll see, like when you see the virtual volume, you'll see that we definitely have not.
Oh, I've seen it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, good.
So you've seen, the guy is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tears into it. I mean, yeah. It's
and you saw Jam in the Van too?
Yes.
Yes. In the Van?
Oh yeah.
I think he's a little too low in the mix in the Jam in the Van, but
for virtual
he's
volumes,
there.
He's
it's there, man. It's amazing, and the stuff that he's coming up with the new material is just epic. Mm-hmm. He's a really good writer. He's a good guitar player. He's a great artist, you know.
Yeah, so we feel, like we really didn't miss any time, because we were able to continue writing, the three of us. And then when Matt joined, we had to do some backtracking because we had, the Jam in the Van thing that was coming up, and we had to relearn some old songs. But we're moving forward now. So it's great.
And you mentioned Totemoshi, so I need to ask about Totemoshi. So I was a Totemoshi fan.
Okay.
And actually, I think that was the last time you guys came through New York. Was one of the first shows I saw at the St. Vitus Bar. It was like 10 years ago at this point.
Oh my God.
But in sort of what I'm thinking of is between the two of you, you have this expansive sort of creative relationship across more than 2 decades at this point. How has that communication developed between you two over that time?
Creative communication.
Well, I think I'm still just as much a pain in the ass as so.
Yeah, we actually, if we fight about anything, it's about music, and it's about communication, because Tony, like, he's constantly writing in his brain, in his sleep even. Like, he woke up the other day and he was like, I was writing in my dream, and he's like trying to play what he was dreaming about.
Right.
I don't have that kind of brain. My brain is more methodical, and creative in more of a visual sense because of my theater background. So, but oftentimes he's in another world, and to try to communicate with somebody who is processing, it's like a barrier that you just can't penetrate. And I've learned how to be okay with that. Like in our normal lives outside of music, we get along great. But when it comes to like us being a collaborative team in the studio, it's a bit of a challenge, I have to admit.
Well, I think my problem was that forever I assumed that everybody was able to hear like the things that I hear in my head.
Right. And not everybody is in his head. So.
And that's the thing is like I've had to learn to realize that not everybody here is hearing what I'm hearing. Like as far as like hearing like, you know, maybe they'll hear the song, but they're not hearing 5 or 6 parts that I'm hearing inside of my brain when we're playing a song. So
that sort of progression from one part or piece to another, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I can hear like parts that work, and that's just the way I guess that's just the way my brain works, and I've always assumed that everybody had that. I guess that.
Well, sometimes we'll hear other parts that we think work, so we'll have to try everybody's idea, you know, in the studio, and then we're a band, so it's a general consensus on how we want the song to be completed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so we're working a lot of that out now. And I mean, it's civil for the most part.
And it's democratic as well.
Yeah,
it's a very democratic process inside of the studio. You know, everybody has ideas and everybody brings stuff to the table. Like there isn't a person in the band that doesn't. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we have a very like, communal way of working that I think works very well.
But I think as the difference between All Souls and Tony Moshi, I mean, for one, we've grown as musicians and songwriters a lot since then.
Yeah.
Also, Tony Moshi was a 3-piece and All Souls is a 4-piece. I kind of like the 4-piece better as a creative process because it always seems like there's a third person out. Like if 2 people agree and one person doesn't, mm-hmm. like there's a better chance for like a democratic thing happening with 4 people. And also for, you know, to have 2 guitars, you can have so much more texture and counterpoint and melody that it adds so much more. I think to the songs. I think that All Souls, I mean, I love, there's songs that I love from Tony Moshi, but All Souls just seems like it's more, I mean, advanced isn't the right word. Melodic. It's more melodic. It's more mature, I guess.
It's purposefully more melodic too, because with Tony Moshi stuff, like, I was the only guitar player, mm-hmm. and I was writing as a guitar player first, and then I was adding vocals second. Mm-hmm. With All Souls, I purposefully took a back seat as a guitar player and wanted to be a singer first, and I wanted the writing to be in line with where the vocals wanted to go. So say like a song like I don't know, like Winds, for example, like the melody, the vocal melody takes it to a certain point, and then but I wanted everything to go in line with where the melody is going vocally. So whereas before, like it would be the guitar writing it, it mm-hmm. would be the guitar, and then I would go to the guitar. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's a different style of writing for sure. It's more of like a Motown sort of style of writing, where
it's a pretty significant sort of shift in method. What was there something in particular that pushed you that way?
Well, a lot of it was Eric's guitar playing, you know, and then my guitar playing on top of it. But it was just sort of, I wanted to be more expansive, and a lot of it was that rather than going in line with like Tony Moshi, a lot of the things that were going were like a 1-3-5 progression, where it was kind of doing a very blues sort of oriented like kind of progression. Mm-hmm. Where this with All Souls, we're using like expansive like modal structures or something like that to base things on. and I want to do it's more to like the style that like Bach would write, where he's doing like major chord, like you take a scale and you're using the entire scale to write with, and as opposed to, you know, just doing three chords to a song.
Mm.
So it's a bit more expansive, and it opens up way more. It opens up a lot more doors for possibilities, I feel. You know, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I feel like we all sort of are on the same kind of trip.
I also would say that we had a project called Alma Sangre that we did in between Torimoshi and All Souls,
Mm-hmm.
where Tony's vocals were more front and center, and it was more singing and less screaming, I guess. And not that he didn't sing in Torimoshi, but this was an acoustic flamenco kind of ranchera project where he sang in Spanish. And there was a lot of focus on the singing. And that time period, I feel like
Change
the writing changed, and it was more focused on vocal performance.
And a lot of that change that happened in Alma Sangre was actually brought to All Souls,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in a very good rock way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it helped develop it quite a bit.
How did it feel recontextualizing that method then, going from Alma Sangre to All Souls?
It felt supernatural. I mean, to me, it was. So for Alma Sangre, it was a lot of sort of a combination of Sabikas's guitar playing along with Chavela Vargas, who was one of my favorite singers, and I can see where the especially the first album, where a lot of that stuff was, especially my singing. My singing was a lot of Chavela, and Chavela Vargas is like she's a Mexican folk singer. For people who don't know her, there's a style of singing that Mexican folk artists do, where it's like llorando. It's called cry. It's basically crying while you sing. It's like a whole process. It's a way of emoting. It's really beautiful, and I think that I've brought that type of singing into All Souls. You know, and then a lot of the weird thing about All Souls too is that we would write by like Eric would start a part, and then one of us would pick out a part and go, okay, we like that part, and then a lot of times I take it home because I'm the singer. I would take it home and I would write around it. So oftentimes, like the part that was written, you would think, like, if it was Torimoshi, like I would write a part by myself, it would usually be verse chorus. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Eric, oftentimes whatever he wrote would sometimes be the bridge, or sometimes be like the middle section of a song, or so like I would write something before it happened and then something after it happened. And then we would go in and then we would write all around that, and then it would change, you know. Obviously when you bring other members in, things change quite a bit. But it was always because the vocals wanted to go somewhere. You know, the vocals wanted to go here. The vocals want to go from, you know, F to B or to here, and then we want to go here. The vocals want to go there, and then the melody wants to go there. So rather than it being where the guitar wants to go, it's where the vocal wants to go. You know, which is, I think it's more naturally emotive, and it's more naturally kind of folkish as well. There's a folk quality to it.
And pop, really.
Yeah, because Paul McCartney, and you know, all those old players would do that kind of stuff. You know, definitely right around the vocal melody.
Did paring back down to a trio as you were writing this next record, has that sort of affected that mindset, that process at all?
Well, I mean, we wrote a lot of songs for the End of the World as a three-piece. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't very different. We were used to being a three-piece in the studio, and Eric would come in and add his parts to songs that were pretty much completed already. So we were kind of on that path. it is nice to have a fourth person there, but we're fine to write as a three-piece too. So it's very different.
The biggest difference is oftentimes where um, the hardest part was when Eric decided to quit, and then for a while he was sort of thinking of coming back. Mostly because I wasn't ready to. I really didn't want him to leave, and I just hadn't admitted to myself that he really just was thinking of doing other things in life, and I was just in love with what we had created. So the hardest part was writing with holes in it, and that's where you're writing a song, and then you're going, okay, well, I hear this happening with another guitar, so I'm not going to put anything there because I want him to put something there, and then here's verse chorus, and then but here's the hole where he's going to put something like really amazing. So I'm putting something very basic. So that then it becomes kind of hard, because then it's sort of like writing with one hand tied behind your back. It makes it a little bit harder when you don't have an actual member who's physically going to be in the studio at a real time ever. So you're just kind of like constantly waiting for the person to show up, and the person just never shows up. So yeah, it's a lot easier now because we actually have the four members now present all the time. Pretty much every rehearsal, we're all there and we're all working, and I don't have to leave holes in any of the songwriting. Neither does anybody else, and it's great.
Yeah, it's coming. Things are getting finished up rather quickly at this point. So.
And do you have a timeline on when you might record?
I mean, hopefully this year for sure. We are just getting everything ready to demo. So I think we'll probably be ready for that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think we'll be ready in a couple of weeks to demo. And we're just going to do like a quick run through, like a live recording of the songs, and then go from there, and then just see what we.
Yeah, so we haven't set a date or anything like that, but I mean, the hope is to do it this year.
I must say that style-wise, it's the same though. We're like one person will write a riff, and then we'll choose that riff, and we'll go, oh, that's a cool one, and then we'll take it, and then it's usually like I write around it, and then I bring it back, and then everybody works on it as a whole, as a band. So it's still a very democratic process. Like nothing has really changed as far as the songwriting goes.
And not being able to tour on songs for the end of the world, I obviously it was a global pandemic, and it sucked for everybody.
Yeah.
I have a special sympathetic place in my heart for good records that didn't get to be toured. Mm-hmm. Aside from doing the live stream and obviously whatever you can do, is it hard not to think of it as kind of lost?
No, I mean, we'll eventually get back out there. I think more than anything, because we've been doing music for so long, and I mean, our very first thing that we ever put out was an actual cassette tape. So it's like, we've done the cassette, we did the CDs, the vinyl, and now with everything streaming, I think the biggest adjustment that I'm seeing is that people just don't pay for music anymore. Mm-hmm. So that is more disappointing than like having a year off from no touring, is just the realization that everybody feels entitled to free music, and they don't understand what it takes to not only learn how to play an instrument, learn how to write songs, but to go into an actual recording studio and to pay a producer to help you make the best record that you can make, to mix down that record, to master that record, to put that record into production, and to create vinyl and CDs and posters and t-shirts and whatever you want to sell. It just, I mean, I know that there's collectors out there, and there are people that'll always, I mean, we still buy music, but to figure out a way to make it like to be able to keep it as a business, it's like I don't know. I don't know if it's even doable anymore. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think there's still a way to do it and people will continue to figure it out. But the whole streaming thing it's killing it. It's killing it. And that's not going anywhere.
My whole thing with touring is I don't know that I love touring as much as I love traveling. I love being out
This is true.
and being in different cities and being just away from home. And I love that feeling of leaving as much as I love that feeling of coming home. You know?
Well, and also the camaraderie that you have, like when you're on the road with another band or a couple of other bands, it's like nothing that you experience in any other aspect of your life. It's like you become family with these people, you know, and there's so much downtime to kill in the hotel or backstage or in the club that you have this whole language that you create amongst one another. And it's super fun because you're all in this thing together. And it's like, it can be, you know, a really incredible time. It's like a bubble, you know, it's like this traveling caravan, which is, it's a pretty special thing to experience.
Yeah, but as far as like, I don't feel bummed out that we didn't get the tour and songs for the end of the world, because it's there. The art is finished. The art is there. People can buy the art. They can listen to it. They can experience it. It's up to them to do it, you know. But we've gotten to write a whole new record in the time that we would have probably had to have been on the road, and we probably wouldn't have got this record finished had it not been for that.
That's true.
So in a way, I feel kind of blessed to have this time to, you know, just as an artist, and us as being artists, just to be able to find our next expression, and to continue to grow and to continue to move on. Because really, that's what's most important, is what you finish and what you leave, you know, for whatever amount of posterity there will be. Time allows. People allow.
Right. Something about rising floodwaters, I seem to recall. Yeah. I'm gonna end the recording right there because I think it's a great spot to leave off on. So thank you guys. Hang on a second. Don't leave. But thank you again, Megan, Tony.
Thank you.
All right.